Today, I am going to continue along in the series I started last week, and really it's a continuation of where we're going at the beginning of this year, talking about God's invitation for us to build in this next year. And I want to start by just reading you a couple of stats that might surprise you. In fact, actually though, they might not surprise you at all, okay? The Survey Center on American Life worked with Gallup, and they did this poll in the end of 2021. And they compared it to a Gallup study that was done in 1990, and their goal was to take a 30-year spread of American culture and specifically have a conversation on friendship inside of our American culture across that 30-year spread. And here's what they found, okay? When they were asked, like, how many friends you have, they had these different responses that you could do, all the way from 0 all the way through 5+. And in 1990, when they asked, how many close friends do you have, 63% of respondents said they had 5 or more close friends in 1990. 63%. The broad majority of people said, I have 5 or more close friends. Now, when they redid this study at the end of 2021, they found that now people said only 38% of Americans said they had more than 5 friends. It dropped significantly. In the middle bracket of that, like the 3 friends, in 1990, it was 24% of respondents said that they had 3 friends. That grew to 37% in 2021. But actually what I think was the most shocking of this entire study was this, that one of the answers you could pick was 0. 0 close friends. And in 1990, it was less than 3% of people said they had 0 close friends. And at the end of 2021, it was over 12% of people said they had 0 close friends. That's a 400% increase of people who say they have no one. The study showed this massive shift from a substantial amount of friends. All of the numbers shifted down to less and less friends. And in fact, the largest growing group was 0. Americans are having less and less friends year over year. That's what this 30-year study shows. That now people find themselves with far less friends than they did even just 30 years ago. Now, that would beg the question, is it just cyclical? Is it a response to our current technology age? What is it that's causing this change? There could be a bunch of different answers, but at the end of this message, we're going to come back around because I actually think that all of those fall short of actually explaining the reality of this change, except for one, that actually we have an enemy that is purposely trying to do this inside of our lives. There's a reason why, and it's because it is for our demise. So to recap before we go forward, okay, we're in this series, Build. That's our focus for 2023. To take you back real quick, Build, the definition of that is to develop according to a systematic plan by a definite process on a particular base. And my question for you to start this year is, what do you want to build in 2023? We said at the beginning of a year, what do you want to build this year? What needs to go through a process? What needs to be developed? What needs to kind of go through this growth process in order to be better by the end of this year? And I would encourage you to consider what you're putting your energy into, because I told you we can build things fast or we can build things that last. And God has been calling us to this mindset of legacy, of shifting, because our culture is so fascinated on the fast, on the here and now, and the immediate. But I think God wants to shift our mind to building things that actually really matter. I shared this verse with you last week as well. 1 Corinthians 13, 11 through 15, Paul, writing to the church of Corinth, said this: no one can lay any foundation other than the one we already have, Jesus Christ. Anyone who builds on that foundation may use a variety of materials: gold, silver, jewel, wood, hay, or straw. But on the judgment day, fire will reveal what kind of work each builder has done. The fire will show if a person's work has any value. If the work survives, that builder will receive a reward. But if the work is burned up, the builder will suffer great loss. The builder will be saved, but like someone barely escaping through a wall of flames. So picture for each of us, any of us who give our lives to Jesus Christ, we then must decide what we will build with our life on that foundation of Jesus Christ. And he says there will be a differentiation at the end of this life when you go and you stand before God. Your life will be run through this refining fire. And he said, what it'll determine is what was of real value. Some people built with just straw and hay, which means you're building stuff that's really for the immediate. It's a quick build, right? And he says it's going to go through and it's going to all get consumed, but some will build with materials that really matter, and those will last. I like what he says again. Everyone will be saved who's put their trust in Jesus. What we build doesn't have anything to do with our salvation. You're saved by grace. But he said in that day, those who decided to leverage their life to build something that lasts, it'll be a celebratory day. Your life affected eternity. Your life continues to affect the world behind you. But he said then there will be some that they spent their entire life, all their energy, all their time, all their money on just kind of building the immediate right here in their life. And they will be saved, but that day when their life is run through the fire, they will be extremely sad because they'll realize I wasted my entire life on just the here and then, and none of it affected eternity, and none of it even lasted behind me. It was all just consumed by the fire. And what he's saying is, think about how you could build something that actually will last with your life, not just building something immediate for here and now. Will you build something that will actually still be here when you leave, a legacy that sits behind you? Will you build something that will actually affect eternity where it will last forever? I told you this, the secret to knowing that you are doing something that will truly last. If you want to find it and you don't want to spend your entire life searching for it, I can give you the shortcut to it right now. Find what God is doing and join it, because God only builds legacy. God does not build the here and now, the quick and fast. He does not build something for today. He always is building something that is eternal. So if you see where God is working and you join it, you can join your energy with something that will truly last. In fact, in 2023, God is calling us as a church, you as a church, if this is your church, to build his church. And I told you, that doesn't mean build the building. What that means is building his church. You're his church. It actually says the Spirit lives inside of us. So building yourself and building your own faith is building his church. We're the church. It actually says that we're joined together and that us as a family are the residing place of God. So by building our relationships and our friendships and encouraging other people's faith, you're building the church. Those who are lost, who would come to know him, are said to be brought into that fold and laid with the rest of us as the foundations and as the walls that build up inside of his church. So we would build the church by sharing the gospel. And then, of course, for all of us in our lives, the idea that we would bring the kingdom of God here to heaven, that's literally the sinner's prayer, right? Our Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. The idea of his glory coming to this earth, finding ways in which his glory would increase, that's a way that we could build his church as well. So last week, we talked about building you. We talked about how communication is foundation when it comes to building yourself in the Lord. In fact, that's why last week, if you weren't here, we started a 14-day digital fast where we said cut out the distractions and focus on God. We actually still have some of those today. At the end, I'll let you know if you want to join us for week 2 of that as we continue forward. But today I want to shift it a little bit, because when we talk about building his church, there can be this sense of like individualism that starts. And especially for us as Americans. Americans are marked by rugged individualism. That's like who we are as Americans, right? Like we're like people who we build our own things. Like we're like doers. Like I'll build my own life. I'll build my own business. Like I'll build the fix. And that's great about us, because it's what generated so much of what America is. But at the same time, it can distract us from the realities of our faith with this. Because when I say build his church, you can get so focused on the individual part of I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this in my faith. And we could miss one of the key markers of truly building something that's legacy. Jesus was the master builder, right? No one could argue that Jesus built the thing that lasted the longest, right? Here we are 2,000 years later. I'm still reading his text. His church is still growing and expanding. He understood how to build something that lasts. And Jesus, when he started his ministry, right after he was baptized, he went out in the wilderness and he was tested. He came back, and before he really got going in his ministry, he did a few small things, a few small miracles around his original birthplace, as far as where he was from, or where he was actually from, not where he was born. And right after that, what Jesus did is he immediately shifted into bringing people into his inner circle. In fact, before he went on to do much of the miracles that you know about Jesus, before he went on to preach many of the sermons you might have heard of Jesus, he went and he found a man named Peter and Andrew, and he said, come and be my disciples, come and be my followers. He went and found James and John, and he said, come and fish for men with me. He went and found a tax collector named Levi, or also known as Matthew, and he invited him to be part of his inner circle. And I need you to get this, because Jesus had the most important thing ever to build, right? And this wasn't a distraction from what he needed to accomplish. These relationships that he was taking time to develop weren't a distraction from what he needed to build. They were actually part of what he knew he needed to lay as a foundation to build something that would really last. Now, some of you would be like, well, wait a second. And Jesus, of course, needed disciples because he needed workers, right? He needed people to do his task and continue along. And I get that, right? All of us who would build something great, we probably would need employees or workers. But you would miss the point in who Jesus drew these men to be if you thought that they were just meant to be just followers or workers or servants. In fact, Jesus clarified this before he left the earth. In John 15, 12 through 17, he looks at his disciples as he knows his time is closing out on this earth, and he says this to them, "This is my commandment, love each other in the same way I have loved you. There is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you slaves, because a master doesn't confide in his slaves. Now you are my friends, since I've told you everything the Father told me. You didn't choose me, I chose you. I appointed you to go and to produce lasting fruit so that the Father will give you whatever you ask for using my name. This is my command, love each other." Jesus says, these people weren't my servants. They weren't just my employees. You're my friends. I shared with you my mission. God gave me a mission to build his church, and I invited you to be part of that mission, to continue to build his church. In fact, I love what he says. He says, I'm basically going to send you out to continue to produce fruit. I'm going to leave. You're going to keep carrying this forward of building his church. But when he calls them to this legacy building life, notice what he intrinsically ties together with it. He says, I need you to love each other. Love each other just like I loved you. Just like I've spent all this time loving you and caring for you. That wasn't a distraction from what we were trying to do. That was an integral component of it. And as you go forward and try to build the church, I need you to focus on loving each other. Once again, that's not a distraction from what you're trying to do. It's actually an integral component to it. I need you to see this friendship within the church was integral to it being built. I would love to show you something similar that Paul said in Romans 12. Jesus said, you guys got to love each other. You got to focus on that if you're going to build something that lasts. Paul was on the backside of this. Jesus had already left, ascended, went into heaven, and now Paul was trying to build the church. He had started all these churches, and he's trying to build it. He wrote multiple different letters, but one of the letters he wrote was called Romans, and Romans stands above the rest. Romans is like amazing. Okay, if you've never read Romans, read through it. They say most likely Romans got passed around all of the churches because it was such an important letter about the foundations of their faith and understanding it. And in Romans 12, when he's talking about building the church, okay, get this, he spends almost an entire chapter talking about friendship. When he's talking about how we're going to build a church that the kingdom of heaven is going to advance, the kingdom of hell won't be able to overtake, he takes an entire chapter in Romans 12 to outline, here's what your friendship in the church is going to look like. In fact, I'm going to go through it with you really quick. I want to run you through this chapter, Romans 12. If you have a Bible app, you can even pull it up. Because here's what's cool inside of Romans 12. Paul is actually going to give us 4 don'ts. Don't you love when stuff is clear like that? Especially too, don't you like the idea of don'ts? Because for some reason, negatives stick in my mind more than positives sometimes. Anyone else? Where it's like, if I tell you like don'ts, you're like, I can do that. Tell me what not to do, okay? And here's what Paul's going to do. He's going to say, here's what the friendship's going to look like in the church. Let me give you 4 things I don't want you to do inside of friendships in this church. If you're going to build something that's last, here's 4 things you can't do if you're going to build something that's actually going to last. And let me go through it with you, okay? Romans 12, first, let's read verses 1 and 2. He says this, So, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all he has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind that he will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship him. Don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. The first don't, he says, is this: don't follow culture. Don't follow culture. Since you are saved, you're going to offer your lives back to God and how to serve him. And he says you're not going to find the pattern in which how to live in the culture around you. You're going to have to listen to God. And this is of critical importance because, listen, our culture says it is now normal to not have friends. Our culture over the last 30 years has said you don't need friends, less and less and less, and you're going to be okay. This is normal. Oh, you don't have any friends? That's normal. You only have a couple friends now where you used to have a lot? That's normal. And even though our culture might say it's normal, listen to me, we don't take our cues from culture. We ask God, what is it that you would say about my life? And I need you to get this, okay? As Christians, friendship is not a social issue, it's a spiritual issue. We don't talk about the necessity of friendship. When Jesus said, I need you to love each other, I need you to actually have a real friendship, I'm not telling you that because it's like, this is socially positive. I'm saying it doesn't matter what culture says about friendship. Jesus says it's integral to your faith. Jesus says you need to have friendship inside of your church in order to actually have something that's going to last. That you as a Christian are meant to actually share your life with others because I've commanded it, not because it's a good idea according to culture. Paul continues in Romans 12, 3-8. He says, because of the privilege and authority God's given me, I give each of you this warning. Don't think you're better than you really are. Be honest in your evaluation of yourselves, measuring yourselves by the faith God has given us. Just as our bodies have many parts and each part has a special function, so it is with Christ's body. We are many parts of one body, and we all belong to each other. In his grace, God has given us different gifts for doing certain things well. So if God has given you the ability to prophesy, speak out with as much faith as God has given you. If your gift is serving others, serve them well. If you're a teacher, then teach well. If your gift is to encourage others, be encouraging. If it's giving, give generously. If God has given you leadership ability, take that responsibility seriously. And if you have a gift for showing kindness to others, do it gladly. The second thing he says is this: don't think you're better than you are. When it comes to your relationships in the church, I need you to get this. Don't think you're better than you are, because, see, we all have a tendency to think, I'm fine. I got this. I can handle this, right? And even sometimes we can even paint some spiritualism on it too, right? Like, with God, all things are possible. Ha! I got Jesus, so I can take care of it. I'm good. I can handle it. We can act like that's some sort of like super spiritual answer, right? Like, oh yeah, they're really faithful. They just trust God. No, you're foolish. Because God literally said that wasn't how you were supposed to live your life. In fact, listen what he said. He said, we all belong to each other. I know this flies in the face of our extremely individualistic American culture, but I need you to get this. Jesus was not a communist. He was not a socialist in any way. But when it comes to your faith, he says your faith does not stand independent of the people who are around you. In fact, get this, he talks about the spiritual gifts that God gives. And the spiritual gifts that God gives are the ones you need in order to be able to survive this life. And did you get what he said? He said, I give different gifts to each person inside of the body. Get this real quick. Feet are great for walking. They're not so good at turning screwdrivers. Ears are great for hearing. They're not so good at mapping where the door is in the room, right? And he said, God didn't give you all the spiritual gifts you need to survive your life. He didn't. He said, I specifically gave different gifts to different people inside of the community around you in order that you might have to work together in order to accomplish the goal. I need you to get this. The spiritual gift that you need for the next season of your life, God will not give you. He'll give someone around you. The spiritual gift someone whom you love needs, he won't give to them, he'll give to you so that you can serve them. Because he says your faith is actually meant to bring you to this understanding that although I'm an individual and I must make my own decision to follow Christ, then my faith is actually part of a collective in which my faith is meant to serve others and my gifts are meant to serve others and their gifts are meant to serve me. And I'm supposed to break down my pride, not thinking that I'm so good, right? I'm fine. And instead say, maybe actually I need some help, and invite those other gifts into our lives to be able to accomplish this. I need you to get this, okay? Real quick. We talk about God's inviting us to build his church. Church is the plural for Christian. That's what church means. It means a bunch of Christians. Christian, singular, a bunch of them, that's called a church. You can't build a church without friendship. It's not physically possible. A church is a collective of Christians, and that's what builds the church. So he says, don't think you're better than you are. Be honest about your assessment, because actually you need the spiritual gifts around you. Number 3, Romans 12, 9 through 12. He says, don't just pretend to love others. Really love them. Hate what's wrong. Hold tightly to what's good. Love each other with genuine affection and take delight in honoring each other. Never be lazy, but work hard and serve the Lord enthusiastically. Rejoice in our confident hope. Be patient in trouble and keep on praying. And when God's people are in need, be ready to help them. Always be eager to practice hospitality. Paul knows exactly how us Christians work in this. He says, you need relationships. Don't think of yourself better than you are. You're supposed to share your faith with each other. And then I love Paul. He's like, pause for a second. But what I'm not saying is to pretend to love other people. Because he says that's what you're all going to intend to do, right? Like, yeah, I guess you're supposed to love each other, so I'm just going to pretend I love people, right? I'm just going to be like, yeah, brother. I walk into church on Sunday morning. I'm going to be the happiest person there. I'm going to tell everybody they're doing good. Finger guns all around, right? Hey, buddy, how you doing? You blessed? I'm blessed. I know. That's Johnny over there. And he's, you're going to have this tendency to think, what I'm just going to do is create this fake little network of acquaintances where like, I love everybody. And he's like, no. I need you not just to pretend to love others. I need you to really love them. He says, I need you to instill genuine affection. Genuine affection. See, that's different than a shallow acquaintance. That means you actually really care about someone. He says you're meant to honor each other. Do you know what you'd have to do to be able to honor somebody? You'd have to know what's honorable about them. So you'd have to get to know them so that you could spot what's honorable about them. And then as you're talking to someone else, you could say, here's Tom. Tom is a great father. I know that because I know what's honorable about him, and then now I can honor him to you. In fact, he even says this at the end of this sentence, always be eager to practice hospitality. Do you know what that means? Oh my goodness, in the year 2023, this means inviting people into your own home. What kind of terror would Paul bring about to us? He says, I want you to be so crazy, you'd invite them to come to your house and eat in your house. To come to where you live and share your house with them. Man, that sounds pretty crazy nowadays, right? And he says, that's what I need you to build. Not just like I know people. He says, I need you to invite them into your life, and I need them to invite you into their life. And I need you to know what's honorable about them. And I need you to create genuine affection with those people where you actually care and you're not just pretending. I need you to get this. We're starting groups in just a little bit. Alpha kicks off, groups start up, and it's awesome. These are a great opportunity. And one of the things I'll talk to you about groups all the time is groups is this amazing way to be able to find friends. And I'll tell people, we do groups at Acts Church, and I'll jokingly say, I said this to another pastor friend the other day, and he was like just dumbfounded. I was like, we're getting ready to start groups. And I was like, I wish our church didn't have to do groups. And he's like, what? And I was like, I wish we didn't have to do groups. I wish we were so good at friendship that you guys just naturally made friends with everyone who's around you. I wish that we as the church were so good at friendship that you just bump into the person next to you, you're sitting by, and you'd be like, hey, you should come over to my house for steaks later on. We should cook burgers together. What are you doing? Do you like coffee? Let's grab a cup of coffee together. What are your interests? So let's go for a run together. Yeah, you got kids same age as my kids. Let's hang out together. And it would just naturally happen. But let me be real with us. We're not that good at friendship in our American culture. Whenever we start groups, I tell people this. Listen, we're starting groups. Groups are important. You should make time for groups. But let me be clear, you don't need a group, you need a friend. Groups are just the easiest way to find friends inside of a church. Because it's an agreed upon time, and you go there and you meet people with agreed upon interests, and you circle around and you find somebody who realizes, oh, that person is similar to me and I could share my life with them. The point isn't to be part of groups. The point is for you to be able to find friends. Sometimes people will say, oh, none of the groups work out for my time frames. What does that mean for me, Cameron? I say, oh man, then you have to work way harder than the people who groups does line up for their life. Because when it does line up, it's really easy. You show up on a Friday at this time and you meet some people and you get to know them. But if none of those dates work out for you, then you have to be way more intentional about developing friendships inside the church, because you have to find friends who actually have your back in your faith. So you have to put in more work. Groups is just the easiest way to get there. But you absolutely need those real friends with genuine affection. Paul finishes up this section. Romans 12, 14 through 16, he says this: bless those who persecute you, don't curse them. Pray that God will bless them. Be happy with those who are happy. Weep with those who weep. Live in harmony with each other. Don't be too proud to enjoy the company of ordinary people, and don't think you know it all. The last thing he says is this. It's a two-parter. Don't be too proud and don't think you know it all. Don't be too proud and think you know it all. Paul is sharing that you are meant to share your life with other people. You're meant to live in harmony with other people. You're meant to actually, when they're sad, you would be part of that where you would know their sadness. When they're joyful, you would be part of that where you would know their joy. And he's saying, I need you to not be too proud where you can share your life. And I like this. He says, ordinary people. And then he says, don't think you know it all. And I think this is a key component of what Paul is saying. You see, for many of us in our faith, we think that our faith is about knowing something. We think that our Christian faith is about knowing something. Oh, I know a lot. Oh, I've studied this a lot. I know a lot about this. So if I was to spend time with someone, I'd have to find somebody who's way smarter than me. I don't know. I spent a lot of time reading this, you know what I mean? I understand a lot. So it'd be hard for me to find somebody with the same intellect who could go deep into the scriptures the way that I do and this and this. And he's like, I need you to understand the fact that that's not what I'm talking about. You don't need somebody who knows a lot more than you. He said, what you just need is someone. Let me say it this way. In your faith in this next year, what if the thing you need isn't knowing something else, it's knowing someone else? What if you don't need to know something more this next year to grow in faith? You just need to know someone more. That you don't need another revelation of knowledge from God. What you need is a friend to be able to walk through the seasons of life that you are in. What if who is more important than what when it comes to your faith? So to recap, he says, don't follow culture. Don't think you're better than you are. Don't just pretend to love others, really love them. Don't be too proud and think you know it all. Friendship is this critical component inside the church. Jesus said, you have to have friendship. In order to continue to build something, I need you to be friends. Just like I showed you how I was friends with you, I need you to have friendship as well. In this next year, when God invites you, say, would you build the church, right? And you think, yeah, I want to build something that really lasts. I want to build part of what God is doing. I would say, listen, real quick, the church is the plural of Christian. You can't build the church without relationships. You need friendship. This is a spiritual issue. Our culture is getting less and less and less friends. And we say, is this just a result of our technology? Is it just a result of all these things? And I would say, no. What if actually it's the result of a real enemy who wants to destroy people's lives? Because he knows that friendship is a powerful component of our faith. I want to read this and then I want to show you something, okay? There's this amazing verse in James 1, 14 through 15. Here's what it says. Temptation comes from our own desires, which entice us and drag us away. These desires give birth to sinful actions, and when the sin is allowed to grow, it gives birth to death. Is it possible the reason why our culture is getting less and less friends is because Satan knows if you have no one around you when he comes knocking and when he comes bringing these temptations back around into your life, you're going to have no strength to be able to fight against it, and it's going to pull you into a place where it's sinful actions and sinful life and death. And what if the reason why Jesus was saying you need to have friendship, you need to have people who you really trust in your life, it wasn't just because it's like, this is a good social idea, it's because he knew the spiritual weight of this. So I want to show you this real quick, okay? Because I want you to be able to actually picture this, because I don't want you to just let it out of your head. Josh, do me a favor. Get up here with me for a second. Josh, come on up here, okay? It's my brother Josh. Come on up here. Josh, you're going to come up in a second. I need the other Josh first. You first, the other Josh second. Don't worry, you're coming up here in a second. Don't worry, you're coming up here. I just need just Josh first. Okay? No, you're good. You're good. This is Josh. Josh has lifted weights once. Maybe twice. I don't know as far as that. But what we end up doing in our life is we come about where we're trying to figure out our faith, and then temptation comes knocking on our life. For this one, Josh, you get to be temptation, okay?
All right, I'll be a bad guy.
You good with that?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, all right, awesome. And what happens as we're trying to walk out our faith is we find ourselves in this tension. So to show you this real quick, Josh, hop over there on that orange X, right here, right there. Grab that rope for me. And this is what we find ourselves at, okay? We're walking in our life and we're good, okay? And then it's interesting because what temptation starts to do is it just starts to really gently pull, right? Just kind of gently, right? And we're like, I kind of feel something. And then after a while, we start to notice this, and we're like, wait, no, wait, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this, right? I don't want to do this. Got him. And by the time we get there, it's too late, right? We notice ourselves partway through this when we're slipping, right? And we think this, but what I could do is, you know what? I got it, right? I just need to know more about, Josh, what I just need to know more about is like tug of war, right? Mm-hmm. If I learn, I bet you there's a book that I can read about tug of war. I think they say like plant your feet, lean your weight backwards, right? Or something like that, right? And then like the idea that you use rhythm to your advantage. Okay, so now I know that real quick. How many of you guys think that now I'm good if I know that? You ready? Are you placing your bet on me? I got the technique now. Wait. Plant your feet, lean back, and pull. No. Not even possible. Not even kind of, right? Not even possible. But listen to me, okay? Listen to me. What if I knew some people, right? What if I knew some people? Josh, come on up here. Daniel, come on up here, right? Who else is up here, right? Kevin, come on up here. Help me real quick. Come on up. Yeah, come on up here, Don. Come on up here. One more guy. Who do I got? One more guy. Come on up here. Where are my brothers? You right here. Come on. You're with me. Come on. Right up here. Come on. Listen. Give me some rope. A little bit more. Give me some rope first. Give me some slack. Okay, good. Wait. You come over here. Wait. Okay, here. Look.
There's our lead.
You guys aren't even on this yet, okay? You guys can let it just be slack, right? You're not fighting against this temptation. This ain't your temptation right now. This ain't your temptation now. This is my temptation, right? This is my struggle, right? Yeah. We all got our own struggles. Yeah. You got yours, I got mine, right? Yeah. This is my struggle. It's not yours right now. So you're not even pulling on this. I'm here and I'm going, I got this. I don't need anybody, right? Think of yourself better than you are. No, I can do it. With Jesus' help, I can do it. I know I've failed 100 times before, but I can do it this time if I really, really try. And temptation starts pulling and I start realizing I'm losing it again, right? And in this moment, this is where the power comes in, because in this moment, I can lose my pride and I can say, friends, help! Let's go, Paul. Thank you guys. Listen to me. This is why Jesus says you need friendship. Because I'm not trying to be mean. All you guys are all awesome. Not any one of you would have been able to deal with Josh on the other end of that. And what we do is our temptation, no, I'm good. And you keep saying you're good. But Paul says, don't think of yourself better than you are. You realize when you look at the temptation in your life, that temptation to run away from what you know is good, that temptation to walk away from legacy building and go back to just tomorrow, that temptation to go back to that addiction you've dealt with in your past, that temptation to be the same person you used to be, even though you walk miles away from it, but the temptation comes back again. He says, I need you to have friendships. People who, not just like, oh, I knew them from back when I was kids, or yeah, like they were an acquaintance, this. He says, I need you to have their numbers in your phone. I need you to have them on speed dial. I need you to have people who you actually really care about. They know you, you know them, genuine affection. You know what's honorable about them. They know what's honorable about you. And in those moments, when the devil tries to drag you away from your purpose, that you can shout out for help in that moment, drop your pride and say, I need help now. I need help now, friends. I need someone to pray for me right now. I need someone to help talk me down off this edge. I need someone to remind me how far I've come so I don't go back. Yeah. And listen to me. God loves you, man. He's for you, and he is not against you. But some of us are like, oh, it's just me and God, and we got it. And God's like, don't be a fool. Don't be a fool. I have you. You're my son. You're my daughter. But I build a church around you for a reason. You need someone you can text right now, and they can text you back. You need someone you can call today, and they'll be there by the end of the day. You need someone who you pick up the phone, and you call them, and they return it that day, and they start working with you on what's going on inside of your life, that you need real friendship. Friends, maybe the reason my friendship is dying in our culture isn't because of technology. Maybe it's because the enemy has a plan. Separate, separate, separate until there's no one who has anyone else's back, until there's no one who can stand up against him. But I'm telling you, for us as the church, we do not follow culture's trends. I need us as the church to embrace the fact that even if culture continually goes farther and farther in that direction, we would be the weird ones who say, but no, we're about friendship. No, we refuse to have no friends. We refuse to separate our lives. We share our lives with other people inside the church. We invite them to know about our strengths and our weaknesses, and we create friendships because we know that that is integral to our faith in building something that truly lasts. Friends, I need you to get this in your mind for 2023. You want to build something that lasts. I'm telling you, what if it's not something new you need to learn, new you need to lead, or figure out like that? What if it's literally relationships? You've been too alone, you've been too separated, and you need to actually invite people into your life to know you, to have your back. Would you pray with me? God, thank you so much for this day. Thank you so much for these people. God, literally thank you for these people, because I think this is the point, God. That we would have people who would know us and love us and care about us despite our flaws and failures. That we could be real with other people, because all of us who come to you, Jesus, are all people who admit that we are broken and we are failed and you are the answer. So there's no surprise when we share our lives with other people and we reveal that broken part of us, or that history of who we were. They say, yeah, me too. Sure enough, all of us needed a Savior. God, I pray in this next few weeks, in this next few months, as we go into 2023, I pray that you would cause a holy desire to well up inside of us to truly make real friendship, God. To make real friendship with the people who are around us, to find those 2 or 3 key people in our life who know us, and we share genuine affection with them so that they have our back in these moments. God, we want to build something that lasts, but we know that if that's going to be the case, then it's going to have to be that we love each other and we build something together. That's how we build something that lasts. So I pray you'd bring courage to hearts today, that right now I know the devil would be lying to our minds and saying, you're too busy, you're too messed up. If someone knew who you really was, they wouldn't want to be your friend. And I pray that you would just extinguish all those lies, and instead you would speak words of truth of saying, you're my son or daughter. There's great friendship waiting for you. There are people who want to know you. There are people who want to honor you. There are people who want to love you. Don't give up. Open yourself up and let me bless you through these relationships. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.